Right, hello everybody, welcome back to the channel now. It's arrived, it's just got it today, the Airfix Stalwart Mark II. This is one of my favourite military vehicles ever. I do have a list of a fantasy garage of British military vehicles. I've owned quite a few in the past, but I don't have any at the minute. But this, which I haven't owned, is definitely on my to-do list or my wanted list, along with several other military vehicles of British origin, which I might get into a little bit later. But for now, I'm just going to crack on with this one because by now you've probably seen plenty of reviews online about this thing. So I've actually been inside the box. I've taken the plastic out of the bags, and it's not an overly excessive part count as far as I can see. Now, I thought the major issue would be the suspension on these things. Having built the 1/72 scale Ace model, it has extremely complex suspension components. But what I did, which I'll have a look at in a second in the instructions, but I have noticed, which they didn't have on the Ferret 1/35 scale kit that Airfix brought out a couple of years ago. This has actually got a name on the sidewall. The Ferret didn't, and looked they're very prominent on the these big vehicles with these big tires on. The sidewall has got lots of printing on. These have got Goodyear on the bar grips. They haven't got sizes or anything, but they do have the diamond pattern around the outside, which is accurate. The tread depth looks a little light on these, and unfortunately they've got no weight. They're not flattened or bulged to give you the impression of weight, which is quite a prominent feature on the Stalwart, being a big six-wheel drive vehicle. The tyres already look quite compressed because obviously you lower the pressure when you're driving in muddy terrain, and obviously these vehicles being amphibious, that's where they're going to live, around muddy terrain. We'll have a quick flick through the instructions, but I really am just going to crack on with it because I'm sure, like I say, plenty of people have seen the reviews on this by now, because this will be a couple of weeks coming out. But I just wanted to actually have a quick look at the suspension, and it looks quite straightforward. I have had a look at it before. So you've got big side plates that go onto the bottom tub with a lot of suspension components on. Then you build up the upper bit. But here we'll get to the suspension. So we've got like a control arm that goes all the way down the side on both sides, and we've got shockers, 3 shockers per wheel, so that's obviously 12 shockers in total. Oh, you've got 4 on the back, so that's it's going to be a bit more than 12. It's going to be 14, 4, 8, yeah, something like that. So they get fitted in there, and then you get your drive couplers in there, your CV joint and your drive shaft, which look like they just click together and then pop in, and they don't look too complicated. So, and then you just basically move on to the rest of the vehicle. The lower wishbone goes underneath it, and the upper wishbone goes on top, and that's pretty much it. It looks very straightforward, but it does look really, really good. Then obviously you get your hubs that go on, and then the wheels and tyres go onto that. But like I said, I'm just going to get on with the build. No point messing about, and we're going to start at the beginning with number 1, which looks dead straightforward. There's a couple of holes to drill. Yep, so drill a hole there. Where's that in relation to that? So we'll have a look at the part. It should be pretty self-explanatory. We'll have a quick look at the plastic first. So this is the bottom hole. Again, very crisp moulding from Airfix. I have been raving about Airfix recently, particularly with the Jaguar. I did get a bit of criticism for that from a few subscribers, but you know, we've all got our own opinions. The Jaguar was a outstanding kit, and I think this one's going to be better than the Ferret. It looks a lot more detailed, rivet detail around the windows, because these are pretty much all sealed up. You can only get in through the top. We've got some nice detail here on this back plate. Have we got some flash on there? We've got some flash. Oh no, we haven't. So that's the heaters. Typical British military heater. So you've got some heater vents going on the windscreen. Obviously, being amphibious, it's going to get quite a lot of condensation in the vehicle. But we're basically going to start by A14, A12, and we're going to cut those side plates off. So I grab my Tamiya snips over here somewhere, and we'll start cutting some plastic on this. Nice crisp plastic, and they cut quite easily. So I'm going to get those components off, and then we'll get them glued together, and then we'll get on with the build. Okay, right, I've got one side plate on, as you can see there. It's a superb fit, so I'll just show you how we do the other side. It basically just pops in there. It's a very, very positive fit, and it slots in there, so there's a little recess there at the back and at the front. Now, so this is me home roll glue, which I find the best. I really do. But I'll put it in that old Testors bottle. I think they're long out of production now, or long out of business. So get the lid off. So basically, I really am quite generous with the glue. Just run it on the inside. In capillary action, let it take it down that way, and a little bit across the top, and across the top there. So I'm just going to hold them to dry for a few seconds, and then I'll do the front because that's a bit floaty. So I'll glue that once this is set. So I'll do that. Then we'll put the two end plates on, and hopefully that'll be a good positive fit. The detail so far, so good, as far as I can tell. Got nice little boots for the drive shafts to keep the water out. Although being a British military vehicle, it's probably the leaking oil that's keeping the water out more than the factory set waterproofing. Okay, right, so I'll push that little plate into the front a bit. You can see it does have a little bit of springiness to it. So a little bit of glue on that as well, just on the inside there. I'll hold that for a few seconds, then we'll put the plates on and get the underneath plate on as well. Right, so that's the two side plates on, and the nose plate as well went on, no fit issues whatsoever. So I'll just show you. So I've got the back plate. There's two holes to drill out, which is very specific in the instructions. It even tells you the angle to drill them out at, which a little bit fastidious, but you'd rather have that information than not. So the back plate just clips on like so. Make sure we get it lined up. As you can see down the line there, that's a very good seam. Best thing to do for this is the old Tamiya extra thin cement, and basically just run the glue along the seam, and that will do that. Same on the other side. And we'll just make sure we get it square, which I think it is. A little bit of pressure, and we'll give that a couple of seconds, and that should set very nicely. So far so good. Right, now I'm progressing with the build, but as is my want, I've gone off track. So after you've built the tub assembly, it says to start building the interior. Well, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to build the rest of the suspension first before I get into the interior. I'm not quite sure why I would jump from, well, around and around the model. Just build this side and then start with the interior. That's how I'm going to build it. So I've already done a bit of work on that. So basically you start off by this torsion bar, which is obviously part of the spring assembly because it has no springs on it. So it must be some sort of torsion system. We do have 11 shockers per side, so it's 22 on the vehicle, just to correct my maths. And you leave the torsion bar, which is a one complete thing, loose, and you feed the shockers through it, and then you glue it down, and you get a nice, secure fit. That's really, really good. Now, and then we'll move on to the hub assemblies, which is these things here. They're all different. There's two parts together, and you just glue them together. Follow the instructions very, very carefully. And then they have to click in. So the drive shaft assembly clicks into this hub assembly. It looks like it's going to turn, but it obviously won't because it's a fixed suspension. It is a bit fiddly, but if you follow the instructions, you can get them in no problem. And then you fit them onto the chassis like that with the drive shaft pointing down over. And you get a nice, good, solid glue contact point from the top wishbone and the drive shaft into the boot there. So that's a really good fit. So far so good. I'm really impressed with this. Now there is an issue. I watched Peter Oxley's did a review of this yesterday. If you don't subscribe to Peter Oxley, get yourself in there. Just subscribe to his channel. He does brilliant reviews, really in-depth reviews of kits, thoroughly covers every aspect of the model. And then he had his Stalwart yesterday. So I watched his review, and I was surprised to see the front plate, the two side plates, and the top roof had massive sink marks in them. Now, if you look on the back, you've got like the pipe work for the heaters, and they're really prominent on the front of his mold. Mine hasn't got it. So I watched his video last night. I went to bed. I start work pretty early, so I've got to be up at 5 o'clock. So I watched it late last night before I went to sleep, and I thought, oh, I didn't notice that on my kit. So I ran down, had a look, and mine didn't have these on. There's a slight teeny tiny bit you can see there on the side plates on the side of the truck, but I'm not that bothered about it. Haven't owned many military non-armoured vehicles in the past. A straight panel is just not a thing. So dints and whatnot are going to happen. But his top plate was also really plagued with sink marks, really bad. I mean, I was really shocked. So I suspect there's been a production issue or a quality issue on his sample. So hopefully it's just that sample and not the others, because this is going to make a bad reputation for Airfix, because this is a really, really good subject. It looks very well executed at the minute, and I don't think we're going to have any issues building it. Although I did come across this when I looked at the instructions. I didn't show you this at the start. It has this clear part, which is actually supposed to be a grill, a mesh grill over the exhaust, or the heat shield. I'm not quite sure why Airfix have made out of like a clear part. It might give you the, well, I can't even think why they've done it like that. So I'm going to have to sort of scratch build some sort of mesh fit for that, but I can use these as a template, and I've got some mesh lying around somewhere, some brass mesh, try saying that fast, and I'll put some strips of strengthening bar on it as well, and I'm going to make a scratch build one of them. And actually I think, although I haven't got the part available here somewhere, it's in the box somewhere, the front grille to protect the headlight looks pretty solid. So again, I'm going to scratch build something like that, just to add a little bit more finesse, because I really want to make this a decent kit. And so far so good. The sink marks on Peter's example, I can't explain it because it's not on mine, and that's where we are. So I'm going to finish off building the suspension, both sides, get all the hubs on. Like I say, when you build them, be careful. Everyone's different, and get the orientation correct, and you won't have a problem with it, because the instructions are pretty clear, but you have to concentrate. Yeah, we're really motoring along with this kit. I've had no fit issues whatsoever. So I've built up this side of the suspension. So we've got the shockers, the hubs, the drive shafts, the torsion bars. They're all in. The steering linkages in as well. So on this side, I've still got to put the top or the bottom wishbones on. As you can see, it comes as a complete a set of three. So I've got those three on that side, and you see they're sort of keyed in, so there's no way you can get them mixed up. So it basically just drops in there, and if you can see where the shockers go into the bottom wishbone, basically they just butt up against it there and there. So you just get some glue on there and hold it together, and then we'll get the bottom plate on, which I think is a perfect fit. So again, I'll show you how that goes together. But so far so good. The suspension is a little bit fiddly, not as fiddly as I thought it would be, and it's quite nice and accurate. So we'll get that bottom suspension arms on and that bottom plate on, and we'll move on from there. There we go, that's the suspension completely built. Now there's the bottom plate to go on to cover up all that bits and bobs of plastic, and this is it, and it's a pretty good fit. Just clips in. That is very nice fit. That's perfect, almost perfect. And just run some thin glue around the outside, so some Tamiya extra thin cement. Bit there, a little bit there. There's a little bit there as well, and just pop it down a second. And that should be perfect, pretty good. And that's that. Now I thought I'd get on with the wheels and tyres as well. So the wheels come like that with a separate drive shaft end flange, which is that. Then we have this one goes on here, and the bar grip tyres, so they are keyed a special way. If I get them in the right way, have I picked the wrong ones up? Sorry, just bear with me here. And they just slot in on the little tab areas. They'll only go in one way. Clip them together, run some glue around the outside, and that should be okay. Cleanups seem to do, but we'll see what they're like when they're done. But that's where we are so far. I'm not going to put the wheels and tyres on yet, because I've still got the brake discs and pads to put on, and calipers. Yes, brake discs and calipers, not dodgy brake drums that you'd expect from a British military vehicle from the 60s and 70s. The rule is, if you've got a British military vehicle, it really doesn't come with brakes. You kind of stop by hitting something. But this has got brake discs and calipers all round, which almost look Formula 1 in style, which is a really, really nice surprise. So there we go. 6 sets of brake discs and calipers, and that's the correct orientation code, the instructions. Now, if you see on the brake disc, you have got a bit of an ejection pin mark, but it's not going to make a difference because basically the big massive chunky wheel goes over the top of it and you can only see the interior detail, which is more than adequate. Now, the next thing to put on is the floor, which is a big, thick, single molten piece, which is very nice. Again, people have had an issue with sink marks. There's none in this whatsoever. This looks pretty flawless to me. And that fits in nice and positively. That clips in really nicely. That's a good, tight, positive fit. Run some glue around the outside. I'll clean up the burr marks there first from the sprue gates, and that should go on nicely. Now, I've noticed we've got a separate engine cover panel, so there's scope for someone to make an aftermarket engine there, and that just pops in like so. And again, I'll just clean them up and put some glue on that. I might be building this one with a tarpaulin on top, so all this detail will be lost inside, but hopefully Airfix will bring a different version out, or some aftermarket company will bring a version out. I really want to have the one with the Atlas crane on, and that would have the open back end. But because this one comes with a tarpaulin, I really want to build everything that comes with the kit. So I'll move on. We'll get the back built up as well. Just while I've got the camera running, or the phone running, I'm busy doing the exhaust. And as you can see, I've drilled out the top one there. It's like a twin stack exhaust. So I'll just drill out the bottom one as well. So I've got matching pair, but it's molded blank. So I just have to drill it out. Okay, so I've basically built up most of the back end of the truck, of the Stalwart, the cargo area, the exhaust system, the back plate with the NATO hook and a couple of toe eyes, which I've drilled out there. Basically just drilled them out, so they're molded solid. The Pioneer tools are in the back there. Like I say, I always like to try and build as much as possible on the model before I paint it. Just get in with a delicate paintbrush, you can do it if you get your paint mixture correct. So far so good. I've had no issues whatsoever, no fit issues, no mold issues. I know some people are finding that on their examples, but I've had none on mine so far. If I have an issue, I'll let you know. I'm not just going to like whitewash it. If there's any fit problems, any molding problems, I will show you. But so far so good. I've had no issues whatsoever. I'm thoroughly enjoying this project. So like I said, I've deviated away from the instructions. I've built the cargo area first. I'm now going to go on and build the cab. Now, again, I'm going to build as much as I can in the cab before I paint it. And what I'm planning to do also, as deviate slightly from the instructions, is try to build, I don't know if this is going to work, is try and build the two side plates and the nose panel together and then fit it on as like a nose cone, like a cover, and leave the roof off and put that on separately after I've done the painting. So I can mask the windows up from the inside. I'm not 100% sure if I'm going to do that yet, but that's the plan. But let's get the interior built first. So I want to quickly show you, I am building the tarpaulin or the canvas cover. Now, I've cut this bit off on this side and I've only glued it here first because it's not the most positive of fits. So what you want to do, or what I suggest you do, is just get a tack on this end first and then just work away along with the glue to secure it, and you'll get a decent seam. Or probably, sorry, you won't get a seam. There's a little bit of mark there, but I'll prime it and see what it's like. But that's as you can see there, just a teeny little a bit of damage on there. I think it's when I cut the injector pin off, or the sprue gate. But otherwise, that's how I would do that, stitch that along. But for now, we're going to build the interior up as much as I can, and then we're going to prime it and paint it. Again, try and see if that front cover will fit. But I've heard some people have to put filler around it, but let's see what we can do. So we'll get on with that now. Right, okay, let's see where we're up to. It's absolutely roasting today. It must be one of the hottest days in England this year at the minute. And I'm busy grubbing out some dead hedges in the garden, so I'm bopping in between the two, pulling these hedges out and doing a bit of the Stalwart. So that's the interior pretty much fitted. There is a choice between the third seat and this unit here. I'm not quite sure what it is. It looks like, I don't know, maybe it's fishing bait and tackle. I don't know. Not quite sure what it is. It doesn't tell you in the instructions, which is a little bit of a shame. But as you can see, there's two huge injector marks on the side there and there, which are quite easy to fill just with Tamiya putty, model putty, and just basically sanded it down with these little sanding sticks. I think the Flory models or PM models, I think it's the same people. I don't know if they do these anymore, but they're really, really good. They do different thicknesses and grades. PM models, I think PM models is where I got them from. So it's easy to flatten that off. So I still have a radio set to put in here, which I made an error on that as well. So I'll just show you that. It's in a box over here somewhere. So I'm busy repairing it. There's actually two tabs on this front bit which I've actually cut off, so I'm just busy making a repair with some plastic card. So I'll trim that off like so, and just sort of flatten that bit off and put the plastic card in that little bit there. It's my fault, I trimmed them off on this front panel and it shouldn't have been trimmed off, but that's for the radio. You get a choice of radios depending on what version you're doing. I'm doing version A, so this is the radio you need, and it's a much bigger radio, so it slots in there, which pretty much would have covered these injection pin marks, but they're filled and sorted anyway. Now I've built the cab, all 4 bits together, and they fit together lovely. No need for filler or anything like that. I've cleaned up the little heater vents because I had a bit of flash on them, and I've fitted the pin and one of the toe eyes. The other one pinged off into the ether, so I'm going to have to scratch build one later on, but not a major issue. You do have to drill quite a few holes on this kit. So you've got 5 at the front there, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 2 on the side, both sides, and 2 in the middle, and 2 on the chassis as well. I'm not quite sure whether they don't have the molding equipment isn't top notch or that sophisticated, because you have to drill out the toe eyes as well. So I don't know if there's an issue where they're just not being able to mold little toe eyes like that, which is a little bit strange because you've managed to hollow out the NATO hook on the back there. But never mind, not a big issue, nothing that you can't handle. So basically I've built the whole cab, the front of the cab, like the cone, the nose first, so it's able to paint it and then put it on. The windows fit from the outside, so it's not that much of an issue. I'll just prove to you that it does go on. So these basically just slot inside. It's a little bit fiddly, so you've just got to get it over there, make sure it clips over there, and it just clips in. It really does, I promise you. There we go. So it's a really nice fit. Obviously with a bit of glue around the front there, it'll close that gap up there. It closes up no problem. So that's a spot on fit there, really good. No need for filler anywhere apart from those big sink marks that I can see. Again, if I come across any issues, I'll let you know. But for now, I think I'll finish the radio, get that in, and then get this primed up and get some paint on it. So I think that's a really good way of doing it. I really recommend you build the whole shell up and then just slide it on. So this is a bit of plastic card I did cut for this mistake that I made in that slot. So I just get my plastic card, bit of glue, just go with a slightly thicker glue here. So this is a little bit of repair work I have to do. Little dollop on there, grab my tweezers and just slide it in. Then I can, once it's dry, I can just trim it off like I showed you before, and just basically scrape it clean or sand it flat. There we go. Make sure it's nice and straight, and there you go. So there you go. All you got to do is just make sure when you do this kit, there's tabs there, and if you're using this radio, don't cut them off like I did. Now, as you can see, I've built up quite a bit there. Again, no issues, no problems, and I'm now going to prime the I nearly said cockpit, the the driving compartment, to use to build too many planes. So we're gonna get some primer on that and on the inside of the cab as well. I may as well prime as much of the other bits I've got built as well, wheels and tires as well. I may as well just get them all done and see what we end up with. But basically I'm going to concentrate on the cab, all the fixings inside, the seats, the steering wheel, this instrument panel, the brake master cylinder, and other bits and bobs down there, and whatever that is. Okay, the primer of choice is of course Autotech grey primer from Amazon. It's exactly the same as the Halford stuff, but half the price, and it's brilliant. So I'm going to nip outside in this red hot day and put some primer on. Right now we're going to talk greens. On the instructions it says use Humbrol 75, but I've been raking through my green. Obviously I've owned lots of ex-military vehicles, and I've actually owned the original paint as well. Yeah, there is a variation on shades. I'm sure millions of books have been written about the correct NATO green shade or the green shade used by the British Army. So I've mixed mine. I've used Tamiya XF81 RAF Dark Green 2, and with a drop of Deep Green XF26 in it as well. So about 75-25 mix. That's what I've got. and that's mixed with about 50-50 AK real colour in the airbrush. Now basically this is just for the interior, and I think it's a pretty good match, but like I say, I've owned many military vehicles, and the green depends on age, environment, and it can fade quite rapidly and badly, especially if it's painted over like a gloss bronze green. But anyway, so we're going to put some green in here. It's the interior, so it's not that, I'm not going to worry about it too much, just basically going to get some colour in it, and then we're going to get on with the detailed paintwork and the weathering. So I'll just start off now. So I'm quite happy with that green. Right, so I'm going to airbrush all the interior and the inside of the cab, and then we'll come back and see what it looks like. There we go. We've got some nice coverage. Looks really good. Going to do a bit of weathering now, so I'll airbrush a bit of dirt and dust around there. I'll show you what I'm going to do shortly. And then we'll get the individual colours painted in. A couple of washes, a couple of dry brushes, pick out some scratches, bits and bobs. These the instrument panel transfer sheet to go on as well. And basically that's going to be it. That's the inside of the cab. So like the pipelines for the heating system need to be painted black. There's not a lot in there. Some fire extinguishers, which are the same colour green, but I might pick them out in a slightly different colour. Some transfers to go on, and that's it. And then we'll get the cab on, which is good because the windscreen's actually, the glass fits in from the outside, so I've got a plan for that as well. Like I say, I've got no sink marks, as you can see on the front panel, nice and smooth, no sink marks whatsoever, and on the side. I know some people have had some issues. I was having a quick think about the bed as well, because obviously I'm going to be putting the tarpaulin on. And I mentioned the Atlas crane the other day. Well, it actually fits in there, the Atlas crane, I'm sure, because the engine's actually at the back, engine transmission's at the back. Now this panel's separate, so whether Airfix are going to bring out a later version with the Atlas crane on, and the more sort of other variant of the Stalwart, who knows, but it really is a good kit so far. No issues, no problems, no filler apart from those injection marks, and we're making good progress. So there we go. Basically painted the interior, the colours it's called out on the instructions, so black for the seats, black for the steering wheel, black for the control arms. I assume this is actually a battery cover, so it's a light grey for that. Some sort of hydraulic bottle there, power steering fluid, something like that. So it's got that funny colour on, but I'll give it a little brown wash later on. The radio, I've given that a teeny tiny wash already, but what I'm going to do, and I've picked up some highlights with some lighter greens, as you can see, just like to add scratch areas, etc. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to give a wash over it now. There's my custom mix of oil paint, so it's just Winsor & Newton, a couple of browns and a smidgen bit of black and some white spirit. So basically, and an old Humbrol brush. So we're basically just trying to pick up some detail here just by dabbing the brush in there, and the capillary action will take the paint into the recessed areas. Actually, I'll just show on the battery cover. And there we go. So basically I'm going to go around all the model and do that, all the painted area anyway. Just get a bit of a wash on it to give, pick out some detail. Then we'll give it a dry brush, maybe another wash again, and then pick out some scratch areas. Then we've got the transfers to go on the dashboard, which I've already glossed. As you can see, they're shiny, and there's the transfers there for the instrument panel. They look pretty good. And the two on the right there, that's for the fire extinguisher. But once we get the wash on, the dry brush on, and then I'll put the transfers on for the instrument panel, and we'll really bring this cockpit to life. Cockpit, I keep saying cockpit. This cab to life. And I'm sure that back wall will take a very nice wash as well. So I'll just actually do that now. So you can see how it just sits in the recess and just picks out the detail. Gives a nice bit of shadow. It really is a great technique. A simple wash and a simple dry brush goes a long way. Right, I'll continue with that. There we go. So we've got the wash inside the cockpit again. Good God, inside the cab. I put a little bit of earth in there as well, just Revell earth with some white spirits, just to give the impression of muddy boots, because this is an amphibious vehicle, so there's going to be a lot of mud going in this cab. So now for the dry brushing, this is my dry brushing paint of choice, so Buff Titanium from De La Rowley, and this is the number 8 brush I use. Now, as you can see, I'll load the brush up with paint and just work off as much as I can. So I've worked it across there, across there, across there. So I've got basically 5 stripes of paint, so that you've got hardly anything left on the paintbrush. So you're not making any marks whatsoever on the kitchen roll. So you've got very little paint left on there. It is a bit of a waste, but the bigger the brush you use, the smoother dry brushing you can get. So I'll just quickly demonstrate on the back here. Just carefully go over the raised surface with the brush, and you see it lifts the detail. So you've already done the recessed detail with the wash, and then the dry brush will just lift the detail. Be very, very, very careful with it. You can overrun it and override it and just make it look a little bit too chalky, but that's the effect you get, say, like on that, I think it's a radio. There we go. So you get lifts the detail really nicely. So I'm going to do the rest of the cab, and particularly the checker plate floor, and then we'll see what it looks like, because I might go with a little bit more wash just here there, just to pick up a few more details up. Then we'll go with a silver on the checker plate floor, just to like show that where the paint's worn off. And then we'll go on with the transfers for the instrument panel and the fire extinguishers, and we'll do a little bit of chipping, and that should be enough for the cab. Okay, right, I've completed the interior of the cab. Very cleverly, I've stuck the cover on without actually taking a little video of showing you what I've done. So I'm going to try. I'll tell you what, I'll take the phone off, and we'll try and zoom in a bit to show you what I've done. Apologies for any sort of interference you get. So, as you can see, I've got a really nice instrument panel there. Steering wheel's all done, battery box is done, bit of dust on it. You can see the scrapes and scratches on the floor. It's got a coat of matte varnish on now, but gloss varnish on the clocks, as you can see. And that's pretty much the interior done, which I think looks nice and reasonably realistic. Now, I'll just put the phone back. So what I'm going to do now is move on to the rest of the model. Now, I'm going to actually move on with it quite a bit now. So we're going to get the glass on. Now, as you can see, the glass has got some really nice moulded windscreen wipers on them. So the best thing I'm going to do for them is mask them up and actually spray them to get a nice straight clean edge on them. Then we're going to get the windscreens mounted in, and they need to sit sort of in the vehicle, not on the vehicle. So as you can see, there's a little edge around there, which is the clear glass. But I've got an idea of sorting that out so it looks like it's fitted in the vehicle rather than just sitting on top of it. But I'll come to that when I get to it. But otherwise, I'm going to get these masked up, sprayed, get them fitted, get them masked up, get it primed again, and get some green on it, and really go to town on it. The wheels and tyres are all made and sanded flat, so I've got no edges there. Looks pretty good. Actually better than what I thought there would be. And they fit very nicely, and we've got a nice Goodyear symbol there. Let's see that. That's going to get painted. The bar that holds the canopy on is going to get painted. I have just quickly done a bit of a brush paint on the canopy, but it's very thin and watery. With that, it's a Model Air colour, and it's just World War II German field grey. But I'm gonna come back and spray it and put a lot more effort into that. The hatches, I've got some horrendous injector pin marks on, but I want to leave the hatches open so you can actually see inside and see the detail in the cab itself. So what I've done, easy to do, just get some very thin plastic card. I mean, it's pretty much wafer thin plastic card I've got here, and just cut, and it just pops in there. Just cut it to shape and just pop it in. Bit of liquid glue, and that'll settle down no problem, and you won't see that sink mark, ejector pin mark, and that'll go in there lovely. Okay, so I'm going to get on and get some paint work done, and when we come back, we should be a lot further down the track, and then we can look at the etch brass, which I'm going to scratch build around the exhaust, and the brush guards for the headlights. Right, there we go. So that's the effect we get. So we get nice, clean, straight edges on the wiper blades. Now I just want to quickly demonstrate how I want to get the windscreen to fit in the panel rather than just sitting on the panel. So just get your nice sharp scalpel blade, which this one isn't. I need to change it. And basically just put a chamfer edge around the inside there, just a little scrape. Don't go too mad. Just take the edge off it slightly, all the way around, on the corners as well. You don't want to go on the main side of the windscreen, but just basically a little chamfer. Now hopefully it should sit better on the panel itself and sort of sit in it rather than on it. I think you might understand what I mean when you see it. and get the thing to sit in. There's not much of a lip to put it on. There we go. So just see what I mean, how it sort of sits in the recess rather than sitting flush with it, which is what the vehicle has. So I'm going to do that with the rest of the windows, and I'm just going to put a very, very thin down coat of this, if I can reach it. Micro crystal clear, so it's like a water base, almost like a wood glue, and it will dry clear, and I can get that windscreen to sit flush or to sit in. I'm labouring the point a bit here, but I'll do all that and I'll quickly show you what I mean, and then I must get on with getting the model painted and get and push forward with it. But that's the effect I'm looking for. It's a whole lot neater than the just plonking it in there. I'm going to do one more on the windscreen and the glass, and I'll move on. So as you can see, I've got them to sit in the recesses quite nicely, which is really what you want with this vehicle. The side windows were spot on, they went straight in, but the front three took a little bit of work, nothing too much. So all you do is just chamfer the edges, and on these just push the little heater vents back a little bit, and you can get the glass to sit in where you want to. Now what I'm going to do now, because obviously you've got like a line around the outside, so I'm going to use this Flory Weather and Wash Black. I've already got the lid off, so I'm going to be careful. It's like a clear wash, and you can wipe it out. So I'm basically just going to run that round the outside and try and get it to sit inside where it'd be like the rubber seals or the sealant, and then it'll sort of take the edge off the white, I think. So I'm just going to let that run in, and I'll wipe it off when it's dry. It will not affect the clarity of the glass, because like I say, it's just like a clear wash. So I'm going to do that all the way around, and we'll put another coat on, and I'll come back tomorrow and wipe it off, because I am absolutely knackered. Been doing a lot of overtime this week at work, and I need to get some rest. So I'm going to do that for the rest of the model, and then we'll come back tomorrow and wipe it off. Then we'll get the masked up, and I promise you we'll get the green on, and we'll make some progress on this kit. Right, one more thing on the windows before I shut up about them. So that's the clear sort of wash installed in it. I just need to find myself a cotton bud, or as you Americans say, a Q-tip. There we go. So I just basically want to rub it off, rub this the clear off. So just dampen the cotton bud a bit, and it just takes it straight off, and it'll leave the black clay in the recess, like so. So it really gets rid of that sort of the sort of light that the thickness of the plastic reflects back. So it looks a lot better. Got a couple of little edges down there which I'll sort out later on, but that's the effect I'm kind of going for. Let's do a bit on here as well. It just takes it off. Don't worry about this the black stuff on the paintwork, because that's all going to get repainted anyway. And as you can see, it sits in a whole lot better. So I'll do the rest of it, and then we'll move on. I'll definitely mask it up now and get it painted. But that's how I've done the glass, and I'm quite happy with the overall effect. A couple other things I've had to do. The tube that holds the canvas on has to have the ends drilled out, so I've just drilled the ends out. Again, it's a shame Airfix didn't do that. The mud guards I've put on. Now the design of them on the drawings says to put them at 90 degree angle, which is incorrect, because then the rubber part, the mud flap, will be bending forward. Now it doesn't defy gravity, so they actually are at a slight rake angle back over, so the mud flaps drop in the right direction. Again, that'll get a little bit of primer once it's ready to go. I don't think there's anything else I need to show you yet, apart from the hatches. So that's with the plastic card in, so they'll get primed and painted, so it gets rid of those injection pin marks. Right, I'm going to mask the windows up and get painting. Okay, right, we've got some green on it, and we've got the black on it as well, just brush painted on as per the instructions. Now the black that I've used for that is the old Revell 302. It's like a semi-gloss black, and with a bit of white spirit it flows really well, brush paints really nicely. I've never found a nicer paint for brush painting. I like a black colour. And you can see I've just done the wheels and tyres. Again, as long as I don't override the wheel colour, that's going to be fine. Now I'm going to give it a bit of dust, I'm going to start doing the weathering. So I'm going to start airbrushing the nooks, crannies, gaps and whatnot where dust would gather, and I'm going to use Humbrol Matte 82, not Humbrol, sorry, Revell, thinned with cellulose thinner, so it's not, so it's a bit harsh, but it's all right. Just keep the pressure low and just be, you know, be careful where you spray it. Don't spray it around like a madman. So I'll just show you what I'm going to do. So basically just going in the nooks and crannies just to build up some sort of dust effect across the whole model. So remember, these things sort of move through the landscape rather than over it. Although they're not, these things that weigh 8 ton and can carry 5 ton, so you're not going to be driving like a rally car off-road. But you just want to give the impression of like on the edge bits there, dirt, and up across the black. So I'm going to do that around the whole model, and I'll show you what I've done when I've finished it. And then we're going to go in with a dust colour and do the top bit, the green colour, and the wheels and tyres as well. So I want to get the earth in the tread. That's basically what I want to do. So that's what I want to do for the wheels. Okay. Right, this is the effect we get. Let's move the lamp there so we'll have a better look. So I've taken the mask all off the windscreen, off the glass, but it's going to be weathered in with the rest of the model. And the wheels and tyres are loose. I'll just take them off so you can get an idea of where I've airbrushed and the effect I've got. So kind of in the nooks and crannies and bits and bobs like that. So we're going to do the transfers next, then I'm going to continue with a bit more weathering. I've just quickly given the canopy a quick blast of khaki brown, and then I'm going to do a bit more work on that. But for now, I'm going to put the number plate on the front splash guard, which I've already gloss varnished, so the transfer should go on okay. This is the transfer again. I've already got some water on it, so it should be ready to slide off. As soon as I find my tweezers, not very prepared. So yeah, so it slides pretty good already. Just sits on the front here. Airfix transfers have been excellent recently, no issues with them whatsoever. And I'll just line it up with the center, roughly where it should be. And again, no issues, no problems with Airfix transfers whatsoever. So I'll get the rest of them on. There's not that many, it's like six or seven or eight to do. And then we'll get on with the wash and the dry brush and a bit more detailed weathering. And we should be close to the end on this kit. Next on the list is to give the model a wash. So there's my custom made white spirit and oil paint of various browns. There we go. That's the sort of consistency that you want. So I'll just grab a wheel and tyre to show you what the sort of effect I'm going for. So I've got an old Airfix brush. It's not the best of conditions, but we don't need to be that precise when putting a wash on. So basically just dab it in, and capillary action, I'll take the wash round the recessed areas, as you can see, if you can see. There we go. So basically want to do that across the whole model. Get a nice wash everywhere. Don't go too over the top, don't let it pool or anything like that. And then we'll get a nice sort of effective recessed shading and things like that. So just like along the corner there, or the edge, or the recess, again across the shockers, and we'll do the whole model, and then we'll come back and see what it looks like. This is going to be one of many washes, some heavier and some a much darker colour, but let's just do that for now. So that gives us a brief look of what it looks like with a wash on it. I'll just take it apart again. Actually, you can see like sort of around the hatches there, and the top deck, and around the side what the washers look like. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to give the model a quick dry brush, then it's going to get a coat of matte varnish. Then I'm going to start going in with a detailed paint, with some detailed paintwork for scratches and other bits and bobs. But you can see how the wash is sort of settled down there. So like I say, quick dry brush, very gently, just to lift some detail. Because obviously around the hubs and the brake discs and the calipers, they all need painting because they're not going to be green. They're going to be like a gunmetal-y colour, almost like a silvery colour, because they're going to be cleaned off by the brake discs, by the brake pads every time it presses the brakes. Obviously the drive shafts have got boots on, they're going to be black, so I'm going to give a much heavy wash of a darker colour, a thicker colour, like a dark brown black to accentuate those colours. So let's do a quick demonstration of the dry brush. I'll just quickly run along the side there, just lifting the highlights. It's a little bit too heavy actually there, I'll take a bit more off. So it's just basically oil paint on a number 8 brush, and you take off as much as you can, as much as you like. You really don't want it to do it too heavy, otherwise it gives you too much of a chalky feel, and you don't really want that. So let me try the back plate. So just lift the detail a bit. Like I say, it's still a little bit too heavy for my liking, but I'll just briefly go over it because I'm going to do some more paint work with it. This is basically just almost building up a layer of highlights just to work on it later. I'll complete the rest of the model like that, and then I'll get a coat of matte varnish on it, and then we'll do the really detailed work. Okay, now I have made a little bit more progress on the weathering of the model, which I haven't really shown you, so I'll quickly explain it. So I've done more washes and dry brushes underneath with different various browns, and I painted, as you can see on the back face there, the brake discs, calipers, and I've used these Tamiya washes for that, the dark brown and the black. So basically just liberally applied them just to try and darken down the suspension component, particularly around the drive boots on the drive shafts, because they wouldn't be so green. They really wouldn't be. They'd be quite dirty and mucky, which I think I've got the effect there. The water intakes look pretty good. So these are the jets at the back. I'll do a little bit more work on them, but they just propel the vehicle on water. Just shoots water out the back, which is controlled by the two sticks in the cockpit. God, I keep saying cockpit. Two used to build an aircraft in the cab. So that's the look I've got at the minute. Now I've accentuated a couple of other things. So if you can see on the side of the cab, the sort of like lighter green, just to show you exactly what I'm on about. So I've got a slightly lighter green, and I put like speckle marks, like on the front, like on the top of the cab there. So it looks like there's scuff marks, scratch marks, like different variations of the green paint. And the front's all done in a similar method as well. I am going to go in with some browns as well to do the similar thing. As you can probably see, similar effect we've got on the exhaust shroud there, and it's quite effective. It's a little bit time consuming, but it's quite effective, and the same on that side. But I think I'm quite happy with the weathering on that. I'm going to do a little bit more in a second, but I'll just show you the wheels and tires first. So that's the wheels and tires. As you can see, I've done the white sort of anti-transmission wind-up indicator on the wheel, so they'd be fitted on the vehicle. They'd all be at the same direction, and if the transmission started to wind up, you'd get a quick, easy visual check if one of the tires was starting to rotate out of sync. They were quite bad for transmission wind up, these vehicles. I don't think they had differentials between the axles. No problem when you're off-road, but when you're on-road, you can wind up the transmission and cause lots of damage. So you'd need to, if you started noticing that, you'd sort of have to go off-road and just get the transmission to slip back into action, or back to where it should be. I've also painted, these are split rims. The nuts, the bolts that hold them together are painted red. It's basically just a quick visual look to see if one's fell out. That's all they're there for. The tires had a dry brush of black, so you can see it's just picked up the tread there nicely, and then a quick dry brush of very, very light tan colour, and I think that looks quite well there. It's picked up the nice diamond pattern, and these look a lot better than I thought they would look, so I'm quite happy with that. At the moment, I am going to do this flicking of this sort of splash and paint technique. So this is the dark dirt. It's like a clear wash from Flory Models. So I'm going to decant a little bit of that and then just flick a little bit with a brush just to try and get a splattered effect. I don't know whether it's going to work well or whether it's going to work, God, I nearly said another word there, or whether it's going to work poorly. So we'll try that. I'm just going to put some kitchen towel down because I don't want to splatter my whole work area, because this is quite stubborn stuff. So I'll get set for that, then we'll try it together and see if it works. Okay, so I've decanted a little bit into this lid. I'm going to use this old brush here, this old Army Painter dry brush. So I'm going to dip a little bit in. Sorry, I know you're going to get a bit of rolling picture on this white background. It doesn't work very well with an iPhone. So I'm going to this is going to either ruin it or wreck it or make it really great. So I'm going to flick some paint on, or this clear wash, to see what it looks like. So it looks okay actually. Let's try a bit more. Don't want to go too mad. Just so up the side. Just see what it dries like. It's looking pretty good actually. So I'm going to continue to do the rest of the model, but without going, nice splash mark there. And I've got some on my face as well. Right, so I'm going to do that. We'll let it dry and we'll see what it looks like, and then I might get a coat of matte varnishing just to seal it on, because I think it might work quite well. Right, I thought we'd have a quick look at where we're up to. So I've got all right, yeah, we're going to look at the mud splashes, weren't we? Which I think have worked out quite well, if you can see on the back there, around the back plate of the truck. So it's got nice like mud splats and splatters and underneath there as well. I think it's worked quite well, and on the front, so it's not a bad technique. Bit up the side, and of course all over my desk as well, but not to worry. So that's that done. I've given it a coat of matte varnish. I'm busy on with the Pioneer tools in the back. If you can just move the light there, if you can see there. So I'm on with them because I always like to build as much as I can before I paint. The lights have gone on, which are quite nice. Very nice lights. The indicator side lights and the tail lights, stop tail lights, and the two reflectors. So they've gone on just with sort of silver behind and Tamiya clear on top. These ones are just painted silver with Tamiya clear paint on. And just a quick wash of Agrax Earthshade from Citadel Colours. It really is excellent stuff. I keep telling you to get this stuff. It's brilliant. So a little wash around the reflectors and the tail lights and the headlights. So you can see like a little bit of mud around the lights themselves, so they sort of blend in nicely. So next thing, I'm not far from being finished. Next thing I'm going to do now, I said I was going to sort out the lamp guards. So that's the lamp guards that you get from Airfix, and it's a pretty poor effort, Airfix. I'm sorry about that. That is poor. It's not the cheapest of kits, so I expect a little bit better than that. But that's what I've made. Again, it's not the best, but I've basically just hollowed it out and just put 4 strips of plastic card, very thin strips of plastic card, and I've made the lamp guard, which looks a whole lot better. Like I say, it's not painted yet, so it just shows it fits on like that. So I need to paint it, weather it, and put like there's a supporting bracket goes around the back. But I think that looks a whole lot better than what Airfix have supplied. Then after that, I need to do the mesh guard over the exhausts, which I need to dig out some mesh from somewhere. Then basically the tarpaulin, a bit more paintwork, and I'm going to like rig it up as well, so it's fitted as per the box art. So I'll do the other one of them. I'll get them painted, get them on. I'll get the rest of the thing finished. I'll quickly show you how I'm going to rig that up, and then we're there. We'll be finished. I've got the aerial to put on, which just sits on there, and then I'll give you my thoughts on the kit. So we're nearly at the end. Well now, so that's the front headlight grills done. They look okay, not perfect, but a damn sight better than what you get offered from Airfix. So I'm quite pleased with them, both sides there. Dead simple to make, and obviously there's a little strengthening or protection bar goes around the back again, just a bit of plastic card bent to shape. So that's where we're at with the model at the minute. Next thing I'm going to do is the canvas that goes on top, which I've already painted. Basically just airbrushed various khakis and browns and dry brushed it, simple as that. The little eyelets where the rope goes through, I've painted like a brass colour. They're not really that colour in real life. They are some sort of anodized metal colour. And it looks a bit sort of brass, like you see them on like rucksacks, haversacks, all sort of like webbing equipment, that sort of thing. But obviously now I need to fit it on, and I'm going to use this lycra thread as the rigging to hold it together, because obviously it looks pretty sparse without it, so it has to come from the loops and go through and zigzag across. So I'm basically just going to stitch that in with that. A little drop of super glue on each hook, and the lycra thread will stick very well. So basically I'm just going to thread that now, stick the tarpaulin down or the canvas down, and then just thread it through. So I'll show you how to do that once I get it all looped in and put down for now. Right, that's a sort of like put on loosely, so it was a bit of a mission. So the threads cut more or less the right length. It was a little bit of a mission to get it to sit down right, because it was like a tight fit between the side of the body and the canvas. So the canvas has had to have a couple of drops of super glue on each corner to keep it secure, because it was a little bit warped. But you can do it, and that's the effect you get. Now, it was a bit of a mission to get them around the loops, but as you can see, it looks pretty good, and I think you're going to have to do this thing if you're using the canvas. I've even managed to get some little tie ends there at both ends, as you can see. But obviously I'm going to need to paint them and then just matte varnish it again, because there's little drops of super glue you can see on the hooks. It's very tricky to do. It's not as straightforward as I think, but I think it's worth the effort. So I'll finish off the other side. I'll get them painted and get them varnished up, and all I've got left to do now is scratch build the exhaust shroud, and we're there. So far so good. Right, okay, we're near the completion of this build. Now, I would have got this build up weeks ago, well, maybe a couple of weeks ago, but the issue I'm having is with this bit. This is the exhaust cage that Airfix supply, and it's just made of clear part, and it really doesn't convey what I'm looking for, which is actually like a mesh cage around the exhaust, like a heat shield, so you don't put your hand on it and like take the skin off your hand. Now there's a company on all over Facebook and whatnot who's making 3D printed improvement parts for this kit, which look really good. I did message him. He did offer us just to sell me this component. I'm going to go ahead and pay for it, but he's not got back to us, not answered any of my emails or social messaging posts on his Facebook page. But I'm not quite sure. If someone's going to say they're going to do something, then at least tell me why you can't do it, or you're too busy producing other stuff, which is fine. Just let us know. Just don't ignore us. So I'm not going to mention that company. I was going to give them a plug because his stuff looks quite good, but what can you do? I can't wait forever. So what I'm going to do, I've got this component, and I've just bought some Edward mesh 00103. It looks similar to the size I want. So what I'm going to do, I've got some yellow tape. Just going to cut a bit of yellow tape. Basically just stick it on might as well go right on the bottom there, around the exhaust cage, the kit part, trace around it, cut it out, transfer the tape to the mesh, and just cut that out as well, and just use this as a former. Okay, so that's the tape on. It might not work too well, but I'll try that. So I'll just get a ballpoint pen, have a look at my tray, see what I've got. I mean, I can just either, refine it. Actually, I might actually just use a knife, might just cut it, that might be easier. Let's try it again. Didn't work very well there. Don't know if you can see that, but I'm not watching what I'm doing. Right, so basically I'm just going to cut around the part. So I've got a bit of tape, which will be my blank, and I'll use that to transfer to the etched brass mesh, and we'll cut it out with scissors. And as you can see, once I've done that, I've got the shape, the templates stuck down onto the mesh, the Edward mesh. I've got my little frog scissors. So I'm going to carefully cut around these templates, like so. Like so, take two. And across there. And then I'm going to form them around the component, the Airfix component. I don't have any reference. I'm basically just going to have to go off this for the best fit, and then I'll try it on the model. For the strengthening strips, I'm just going to put some very thin plastic card, just sort of super glue that on the outside, so I might get the effect. Right, so I'm going to get on and get that finished. Okay, right, and with a little bit of effort, that's what we get. So I think that's a vast improvement on the kit. Just need to straighten that up a bit. I'll get that primed, painted, and we'll get that on, and then we'll get this kit finished. But otherwise, that was fairly simple and straightforward, and it's a nice improvement on the kit part. Simple to do. So there we go. That's the cage complete, painted, weathered, and matte varnished. Let's see if we get a closer look there. Okay, it's not brilliant. It's not 100% happy with it, but what compares with the kit part, which is that, yeah, I'm more than happy with that. I'm quite find that acceptable. So that's the Stalwart done, complete. I'll give you my thoughts on it. First of all, it's a 1/35th scale new tooled plastic kit of the Alva Stalwart, which is just a fantastic subject. So definitely 10 out of 10 for Airfix for choosing the subject. Fit was excellent. I had no problem with the fit. The instructions, again, were very, very good from Airfix. No issues with that. I do have a couple of cons on it. First one is the finesse of some of the parts, like the headlight guards. Really, I think that I don't have too much of a go at Airfix, but in this day and age, you really shouldn't be giving us what you've given us for these. The mold technology has advanced where you could mold something similar to that. The cage on the back, a little bit more difficult, but the the guards, Italy were doing stuff like that in the 70s as fine as that, so I'm not quite sure why in this day and age Airfixers think we're accepting components which are so poorly finessed as that. But again, okay, so it's not beyond the wit of man to like improve them like I've done there, and it's not too difficult to improve that and put the rope on the canvas. Not too much of an issue there. I know some people have had issues with quality regarding moulding, such as sink marks, etc, etc. I've had no issues with sink marks on this kit whatsoever, so I must have got lucky. The wipers on the windscreens are a little bit heavily moulded, but if you can accept that, I'm not too bothered about that. But things like the end of the pipe, the tube should really be hollow. That should have been moulded hollow. Again, it's, you know, we're at 2025. That shouldn't be an issue to like do that. Again, the exhaust had to be drilled out. Again, not that much of an issue, but what was this kit like? Nearly 40 quid. You could do with just a little bit more finesse. The detail I think is acceptable, adequate for a kit of this scale and price. It's good enough to make a nice busy model like you've got here. And again, I'm really happy with the finish of it. It's a fantastic subject. I'm really pleased Airfix are doing these subjects. They're giving us the kits that we want. I just could do with a little bit more on the quality control aspect and just a teeny little bit more finesse. I mean, Airfix are on the right direction, but they're not there yet. But I'm not going to knock them. This is a great kit. I thoroughly enjoyed. I really enjoyed this kit. Now that's what it comes down to. Did I enjoy making the kit? Yes, I did. Did I enjoy putting the additional parts on? Yes, I did, because it makes quite a bit of difference to the finished model. I'm not going to give it marks out of 10. That's you know, it's not what I do on my channel, but I just feel how I am with the kit when it's done. I'm very happy with it. I will be building another one. I'm certainly looking to do the BP exploration one. You know, your little matchbox. I don't have one actually. I used to have one. A little matchbox, white Stalwart with the BP exploration and the yellow canvas. It's definitely going to be a do of that one. I'm sure someone will bring those transfers out. But as per usual, I will leave some pictures at the end, just some much better quality pictures so you can have a look at them. Do enjoy them. But otherwise, again, thanks for watching. Well done, Airfix. Thank you very much. Let's have more of this. Again, just finesse them a little bit, and you really, it's up and up with you. But thank you very much, and thanks for watching, and we'll see you in another video sometime soon.